Yo, what's happening people? I'm Era from eratheproducer.com and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make emotional guitar beats for Polo G and Youngboy.
Era on the track.
So to get this one started, I went with the Electric Mint from Session Guitarist. I'm working in the A minor scale and I've got my BPM set to 120. And the pattern that I'm playing here is quite simple. I'm just going from the A minor down to G major and then ending out on F major. Then for the second part, I'm just climbing back up, starting with F major, G major, and then finally A minor. Instead of playing these chords as triads, I chose to take out the fifth from each chord and instead I doubled up the root note an octave lower. Onto this, I've then added an EQ with a low cut at around 90 Hz, some saturation with the Abbey Road saturator, and I'm using the Fat Electric guitar preset, and then some reverb from Rev Intensity with the Omnipresence preset. Next I wanted to add some bass, so I went with the Scarby Rickenbacker bass and just had it follow the root notes of my chord progression. To the bass, I've then added Decapitator with the Beefy preset, and this is just going to add some crunch. This is then going into Guitar Rig with the Cranked Bass preset, and I'm just using the channel rack to bring the mix down to about 40%. I then have Shaperbox 3, which is just doing some side chaining with my kick. Next I wanted to add a nice simple counter melody, so I went to the Evolution Strawberry Bank and chose the Melancholy preset. The first 8 bars of this pattern are following the chord progression, and then the second 8 bars deviate away from the chords a little bit, adding some nice harmonies to the melody. To this, I've then added Guitar Rig with the Vocal Space preset, and again, I'm just using the channel rack to bring the mix down to around 75%. I've then added Fruity Delay with my time setting on 8. I'm using the ping pong mode, and I've just turned the overall mix down so the delay is not too intense. And then to add some space to the counter melody, I'm using Valhalla Vintage Verb, and I've turned my mix down to 24%. The last melodic element I added to this beat is another layer of guitar, this time using the pick nylon. This pattern's playing an exact copy of the original chord progression, just adding a nice layer to it. All I've added to this is Guitar Rig with the Feed Me preset, and then an EQ to just roll off some of the low end. So my hi-hats are playing a simple 8th note pattern, and then I've just added these occasional extra hits and rolls. When I'm adding these rolls, I like to come up to the snap and turn it onto either a 3rd or a 6th, so you can get some interesting triplet rolls as well. Nothing crazy going on with the snare, it's just hitting on the 3rd beat of every bar. I've then layered this snare with a clap which is going to hit on the 3rd beat of every 2nd bar. Next I've added this percussive rim sound, and this is just going to fill some gaps. I then added this shaker, which is playing a simple quarter note pattern, and this is going to play during the hook as well as the bridge. So even though I added a bass earlier on, that's going to be used during the verses, and during the hook I want to have an 808 instead. So I've copied the same pattern from my bass guitar and pasted it into my 808. Next I just copied that 808 into my kick and then hit Alt and K, and this is going to bring up the transposer. Adjust this key range so all that's selected is C5, and then hit accept, and this is going to bring all of those notes down to C. For the arrangement on this, I've gone with a 16 bar intro that's just playing the most simplified versions of the melodies. You'll see that I'm introducing these elements one by one, and this is going to help build up to the drop. The hook is also 16 bars long, and this has got all of the elements playing with this short break in the middle to just let everything breathe. Near to the end of this break, I've added a tape stop, and this is just going to add some emphasis on those instruments coming back in. Towards the end of the hook, I'm just taking some elements out to dip the energy ready to go into the verse. The next two sections are the verse and the bridge, which are 16 bars and 8 bars. During the verse, I've dropped out a lot of the drum elements, and again, I'm just playing simplified versions of my melodies. The bridge is going to have the least amount of elements, and this is really going to allow the track to breathe before we go back into that chorus. To transition between each of these different sections, I'm just using some simple risers and crashes, and this is going to help emphasize them. And that's pretty much all there is to say about this beat, so let's take a listen to how it came out. And that is going to bring us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video or if you learned anything new from it, then make sure to hit the thumbs up button before you leave. And if you're new to the channel, then do me a favor and hit that subscribe button too. If you'd like to get access to this FLP as well as all of the other project files from my videos, then you need to be subscribed to my Patreon. I'll leave a link to that in the video description. If you'd like to know 5 creative ways that I use Shaperbox, then I'll leave a link to that video up here. Then I'll just leave a random video from the channel down here. Big shout out to anybody that made it all the way to the end of the video. I've been Era, thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you all in the next one.